It's called Ready to Rise: How to Find Your Path to Peace and Purpose. And fun fact, I wrote the entire thing while I was living on Phangan. It was really, living on the island was really opening me up in many ways. And I had so much creativity. I had a lot of support. And I had the time and space to do something like sit down and write a book.
Welcome to this new episode, and today I am on Zoom with Ravi. How are you, Ravi?
Very well. Good to see you, Luca.
Very nice. So, Ravi, I know you, Ravi, because of course you were in Phangan for quite a long while, and now you're joining us from Colorado, where you currently live. And we have to know that Ravi is a multidimensional author, is a coach, is a facilitator, and we're going to talk about purpose. We're going to talk about finding your path in life, and also we are looking at embodiment today. So it's very interesting. We're covering many, many very interesting and exciting topics. But first of all, I'd like to ask you, Ravi, what is your journey in life?
I was born in the United States. And it's interesting, actually, when I was born, my name was not Ravi. So my name when I was born was Jordan. And I was Jordan up until I was 31 years old. And Jordan, also lived a very interesting life. I had a pretty traditional upbringing in the US, but both of my parents had their own challenges. I like to say that they were afflicted. Instead of addicted, I use the word afflicted. There was like an inner pain, and they were finding things outside of themselves. And there wasn't a lot of healing in the environment where I grew up in. In fact, it was a pretty chaotic environment, and that shaped a lot of who I have become. I injured myself a lot when I was young. I've broken over 10 bones, and I've had many surgeries. So I got to learn about pain and discomfort and ultimately compassion from a very, very young age. Fast forward, in my work life, I've had a lot of jobs, dozens of jobs, the small kinds and the big ones. But I've had my dream job, I've had a dream job, and I've had a job that aligned with what I studied in university. And so it's very interesting that I've had all these different types of works. And something I don't share very often is that I've been fired from those 3 jobs that I mentioned: my dream job, a dream job, and the job of what I studied. Which ultimately I've learned so much from all of those things. And that's been such a big part of how I'm able to look at purpose and meaning from a very wide lens. Ultimately it was being fired from my dream job that led me onto the path of self-discovery, which brought me to India multiple times, and ultimately to Phangan, and really to a place of creating a life that has meaning for me, and not so much a life that is what I should be doing necessarily.
What you say resonates with me very much. I have to say that if I look at different aspects of my life, one of the aspects that brought the most suffering also has been my work life, and I also tended to change jobs every couple of years. And it was always very challenging for me to fit into a standard and regular kind of office environment. And I think this probably resonates with many people too. Can you tell us a little bit more? I mean, of course, this is a little bit of a pattern of you, so being fired, right? So not just leaving the job, but having real problems with it. What was this pattern about? Was it mostly a relationship with your manager? Was it more you being too outspoken, or at some point, you know, starting to not work with a team, or what was the main problem behind that?
Yeah, great question. And actually, I had a Vedic astrology reading while I was on Kopangan, right? You have to bring astrology into this somehow. But I was told that one of my like deities, my gods, is Ashwini, and Ashwini is the wild horse. And so the person who was giving my reading, he asked me, he said, do you tend to move from one thing to the next very quickly? Like you're often maybe ahead of the pack. And he even asked in like a work environment, do you find yourself kind of on to the next thing, maybe before you've really finished the thing that you were working on? And that rang very true. You know, I felt even when I was in my dream job and really aligned and living on purpose and passionate, pretty quickly, I was excited about something else. I was, and that was the pattern from these other jobs too, is that I would start off very strong, but then my interests would shift. And then I would come into the workplace and I'd be talking about other things that were not related to the work. I would have challenges with my managers. Then I'd be outspoken about things that I didn't think were working well in the product or the service that we were working on. And yeah, the dynamic just continued to repeat. You know, I'm great to work with. I'm very friendly and productive when I need to be. But yeah, at a certain point, I kind of lose interest and I'm on to the next thing without really seeing the original thing all the way through.
Okay, I think this is a pattern which is actually quite common in a minority of people. The fact that some people are extremely interested in different subjects and they want to learn, and they're maybe quite fast learners. So you get to a point where in a new job, you get to up to, you know, the learning curve, you get to a point where you kind of plateau a little bit.
Yeah.
And then these kind of people tend to lose interest in the job. They seeking new stimulation. They seek new learning and new discoveries, and then the job becomes boring, kind of. You know, it's actually it's more common than we think. And then some people, I suppose, they kind of force themselves. So like they really make a big effort in order to almost overcome their nature and adapt to the work environment and stick to it. Whilst some others, maybe they are more, you know, they just want to go and discover and they just follow their intuition more, I suppose.
Absolutely, 1000%. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about, I know in Kopangan you were running some pretty successful workshops around the theme of embodiment. And this is a big theme that, you know, I sort of, you know, delved into with other teachers as well. So it's a common theme in Kopangan, because many people that come to Kopangan, particularly from the Western world, from high-stress jobs and careers, they tend to be very intellectually developed and maybe very sharp, but also they tend to have lots of psychological stress and have little connection with the body itself. So they maybe I used to work particularly with like very overweight people. They were very intelligent, and then they couldn't even feel in the body. They were bloated, for instance. So they had very little connection with the body. How important it is to feel embodied?
There are 1,000 different ways, 1,000,000 different ways to be embodied. But I do believe that to be embodied, to be in connection with the mind and with the body, right? We don't want to say that mind is bad or wrong. It's always going to be there. And so my approach to embodiment is really about integrating mind with body, letting these two alchemize and work together. But I believe that being embodied is the gateway to being alive. It's the gateway to being in the present moment, to interacting with your environment, to connecting with others. It's truly the way into the present moment. And so for me, and being embodied, it's everything. So it's very important. And the body, there's a famous book called The Body Keeps the Score, right? All of our traumas, our repressed emotions, our issues, they live in the physical body. And so for a lot of people, being in the body is not necessarily a safe place or a place that they even have access to. And so that's where, courses or workshops like the embodiment workshop that I hosted, it's creating a safe container and a safe space for people to navigate and go on their own journey into the body and to start to see what's there.
That's very useful indeed. And I mean, I've been to embodiment workshops as well. Typically, anything that involves physical movement. For instance, in Phangan, there is a big community that does contact improv or improvisational dance. So dancing, for instance, is very good for feeling the body more. Physical activity of any type, yoga, meditation, and mindfulness, and practicing awareness. And for instance, when you eat, you can be completely detached from the body and watch something on the internet, maybe something that stresses you, worries you, etc., whilst you eat, or you can be fully present, feel the food coming into your body. What a different experience of living, right? When you're living life as an embodied being, is a much again, if you're healthy, or if you can do that, obviously, it's a much more beautiful experience of living life itself. But then you said, some people have lots of pain in the body, or lots of emotional pain stored in the body, and that's why they detach from it. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, the body, like you said, it's the gateway to a beautiful life. And things tend to slow down as well. The more embodied you are, the more your nervous system tends to be more regulated. So again, like the tone of my voice is a little bit slower. I'm more articulate. I am expressive. And time has a quality of expanding. And there's more available to you in each moment because you're able to take in more with your senses.
Sounds good. And I remember you running these classes. Can you tell us a little bit more? What were you doing actually in the class?
Yeah, I take people on a journey. So it's multi-dimensional. There's lots of different sensory inputs that are taking us on a journey. So I'm playing music the whole time. That's kind of our guide. There's lots of dance and self-expression. Each embodiment workshop is different. Even if I did the same exercises, if the people are different, the way that the exercises show up, like any workshop, every time it's a little bit different. But I like to bring a lot of ritual and kind of ceremony into it. So I always start bringing people in one at a time, clearing them with Palo Santo, and really inviting them to connect to their breath, to drop into their inner space before they enter into the physical space. And then, over the course of about 2 hours, I take them through a journey. I have a system that I developed called the PACE embodiment process. And PACE, if you're running a race, if you've ever run a marathon or a half marathon, it's very important that you pace yourself. Right? You don't come off sprinting from the start. And life is kind of like a marathon. It's important that we pace ourselves throughout life. And so PACE, I use as an acronym to bring people into 4 different embodied experiences. And so there's a specific exercise that we do for the P, the A, the C, and the E. And they get to have not just an experience from the mind, but really a fully embodied experience with themselves. And then oftentimes we're using connection with others and connection with the space around us to really heighten and amplify the moment and the experience.
It sounds lovely, and I'm sure people really enjoy these kind of practices, because Indeed, it's something that is very much needed, and particularly if you are very much disembodied, the minute you start reconnecting with your body, I mean, there's lots of emotions, of course, that you have to deal with, but it can be very satisfying too. Okay, let's move on to the next. I know that you are about to launch a book you've been working on. Can you show us the book and tell us a little bit about it? It's about purpose or finding your path in life, is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm happy to show it to you. I have a copy right here. It's called Ready to Rise: How to Find Your Path to Peace and Purpose. And fun fact, I wrote the entire thing while I was living on Koh Phangan. It was really, living on the island was really opening me up in many ways. And I had so much creativity. I had a lot of support. And I had the time and space to do something like sit down and write a book. And so it's a really practical guide. It's really any seeker in life who wants to make more meaning out of their journey. It's full of practical wisdom from my experience and from experiences that I've had around the world, especially in the East, in India and Thailand. It has lots of exercises and journal prompts and things to really make an experience as you're reading the book. It's not just something that you consume from the mind and set down. If you're really serious about your journey, again, no matter where you're at, there's something for you. And it's great to have a notebook or a journal to follow along.
That's lovely. That's lovely. So you've been developing this concept and putting it into words in Koh Phangan. So this is a Koh Phangan baby, so to speak, that you're launching very soon. And also you told me earlier that there is a real baby coming at the same time. Right?
There is. I'm birthing many things this year. Which actually there's a wonderful healer on Koh Phangan. Her name is May. Maybe you know her. I had a session with May before I left, and she did my numerology because I also had a birthday a little while before I left the island. And she said that this year for you is an 11. And 11 is the year of the master. But 11 in numerology also, 11 becomes 2. And 2 is symbolic of creation. So she said this will be a year full of creation. So just go out there and start creating, start making, keep sharing. And truly, this has been a year of creation. I've birthed this book, which launches on Thursday, August 4th. And then in mid-November, my partner Lynn Ann and I are birthing our first child. So going to be a father and an author and all the things.
Wow, that sounds very exciting indeed. And if you're talking about purpose, having a child, that's a lot of purpose in itself. It's, really something to live for. But do you think you're finding your purpose now? You know what is your path in life with all the experiences you did coming out from the standard work environment, living in Koh Phangan, going to India multiple times. I mean, what is your purpose in life now? How do you see meaning in life?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So I believe that purpose is quite dynamic. So it's always changing. If we're paying attention, it's always changing. And so I've shifted a bit. Instead of finding my one purpose and arriving at that, I shifted to living on purpose. And when I'm living on purpose, and that ties back to embodiment and presence and mindfulness, when I'm living on purpose, then the path is revealing itself. But I also have, I developed a simple exercise that anybody can do to arrive at their own purpose statement, so that you could do a little bit of work internally. And then at the end of that, you could write out very clearly, what is your purpose statement in the moment? And it's a combination of 3 things. And I'll keep it very simple for now. The first part is your soul purpose, like the soul, right? You came into this world as a child innocent and open and with a soul expression, right? Maybe as a young child, you remember being very creative or adventurous, or you loved cooking or playing in the garden with your siblings or your parents. Or you love sports, like whatever that thing was when you were, again, so pure, so innocent and young, that naturally that's just what you were doing, right? I believe that doesn't go away. That's kind of on our soul signature, right? So that's always a part of us. The second part is your karmic purpose. And I love the question you asked in the beginning about, like, what has your life journey been? What hardships or struggles maybe have like really defined you? Because I believe that our karmic purpose is that thing that we have experienced and maybe suffered through or endured through, that we are uniquely positioned to then understand the meaning behind it. Or it's been part of our journey in our lifetime to heal that one thing, right? Maybe we lost a loved one or a parent at a young age, or we were in a traumatic accident, or suffered from abuse physically or emotionally, but something that was part of our karmic purpose, that we were here, again, not labeling it good or bad, but karmically it happened to us. And so that's been a big part of our individual journey, making meaning out of that thing. So we have our soul purpose, our karmic purpose, and then the third is just our individual purpose based on where we are at in life at this moment, whether that's professionally or personally. But what is the thing that we're going through right now as an individual when we're truly living on purpose? And so when I think about purpose, I combine those three things: the soul purpose, your karmic purpose, and then in this moment, your individual purpose. And then again, simple exercise, you bring those three all together and you have a statement that you can really clearly and confidently say, you know what, in this moment, this is my purpose.
Sounds very good, yes. And I really like the fact that you take into consideration the sort of predispositions in life, if you want, because very often society has some pre-made models that are applied pretty much to everybody, or, within a certain continuum, obviously, with some choices available, but everybody is a bit different, and we have different skills, attitudes, predispositions, things that make us excited. So reducing ourselves, to a 9-to-5 with a certain type of work culture in a certain corporations, etc., is very limiting in many ways. I think we are lucky these days because we can experiment, as you did and I did as well, and just get out of the environment we are brought up in and experience the world, have time to think, maybe read, meet people, like you say, your May, your healer here, etc., your astrologist, and mature a view of ourselves and of what we should be doing, how we should be living, which maybe is a little bit less pre-formatted and is a little bit more elaborated or sophisticated, and hopefully is going to be more aligned with our predispositions and make us a little bit happier in the long run. Is that, what do you think?
Yeah, spot on, spot on. I think that the word alignment really sticks out to me, right? Finding the thing that aligns to our purpose, to our passions, to how we want to be spending our time. But I also think it takes courage, right? Almost everybody that you meet who's made it to a place like Phangan has a very interesting story, right? You almost everybody chose or was out of necessity had to do something drastically different from what they were predisposed to, and that takes courage.
That is true.
Yeah.
So I suppose now you're gonna be in Colorado and you are all settled there. Any plans of visiting our beautiful holistic alternative island in the future?
Absolutely. Like my partner and I have been traveling for years, especially all during COVID. We were, abroad and in Thailand and Phangan. So we're here for now. It's kind of like my purpose. It's ever changing. I'm ever changing. This is the path that I'm committed to. And so we're going to be settled here for at least the next 6 months while we have our baby, and really start to meet the little being that comes through and see what our family needs. If we need, it was really nice to be on Phangan for such a long time and to really become rooted in the community there. So I understand the value of being in one geography, one place for a long time. But we'll see. We're here for now, and we could be back on Phangan as soon as next year.
Sounds great, Ravi. So I wish you the best luck for what is coming into your life, which is lots of beautiful things, I'm sure. And we'll put the link to your book in the description as well, if people want to take a look at it, maybe buy it. Otherwise, yes, I wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much for reconnecting with me over Zoom. And yes, have a beautiful day, in the United States.
Thank you, Luca. I appreciate you.